Yeah, but people don't have strong bonds these days.
Why is that?
Because internet, they don't have to talk as much. They just, when they talk, it's over the line. It's online.
So shouldn't we talk more to people in person then, so that we get better at it?
Well, it was already unpopular before COVID, because people could talk online.
Talking with people in person?
Right. And now with COVID, it's even less popular.
This is podcast number 1 with Joseph Wang. Joseph.
Yes, what do you want to talk
So
about?
I want to talk about why I do this podcast. As brothers, I wanted you to go first because you usually check my really bad ideas. And I really check your really bad ideas. Do I?
Yeah, do you?
I think I do. Do you feel I check your bad ideas?
No, I feel like I don't have any ideas for you to check.
You don't have any ideas for me to check. Well,
Yes.
for me, I feel that at least you check my bad ideas. And so first podcast, we test it out and you can see if it goes well. Here's what I want to do. I know I'm not Joe Rogan, right?
Uh-huh.
And then actually, if there's Joe Rogan, there doesn't need to be another Joe Rogan. What I want to do is just really reach out to people around. Have you heard of Dunbar's number?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So a person can have about 150 meaningful relationships, right? And so I think to what I've done since March 2020, since COVID started, and I haven't really reached out to anyone because I kind of lost faith in people. And so since March 2020, I would say I've just been kind of alone.
Well, that's what happened. You have to put effort into the connections. That's why at the end of high school and at the end of college, everyone loses a bunch of friends.
Right. But do you want to maintain it?
Right. So are you complaining about it?
I just felt that I didn't want to talk to people at the end of college anymore because I just lost faith. But now I want to restart. It's a new year, a new start. And so I think to slowly spiral, starting from people I know outwards to people that I haven't contacted in a while. You know, my friends from high school, perhaps people in college, and see if I can break that 150 number. You think I could break the 150 number?
No.
You don't think I could break 150 meaningful connections?
You can, but you're unlikely to.
Unlikely to? Oh, that's what this podcast will be about, to see if I could break that. But you see, if I reach 150, let's say that I did a podcast each week, right? 52.
Well, what do you mean by break 150? You just want to talk to 150 people? That's kind of easy.
Right, so that's what I was getting into. I can talk to 150 people, but that doesn't mean each connection is meaningful, right?
Right.
So I need to do multiple ones with each person. So you would kind of be podcast number 1, right?
Do
Perhaps,
0.
Huh?
Do 0. That makes it easier. Podcast 0. So you could tell by how many, because 0 is a good starting number.
Why not 1?
Because you do it in sets of 0, then when things are in sets of 10, you just look at the first leading number and you could tell how many have been done.
But if I start at 0 and we get to 10 and he asks how many podcasts I've done, it's actually 11.
Yes.
Why do that?
If you want to do in like seasons with 10 episodes each, then it'll be easy to tell which season it is by looking at the leading number.
What's the leading number in 0 to 10?
Just have fun. What? No, the leading number in 10 is 1. Because it's the first number.
Right, but what happened to podcast 0?
0 is the first season. And after 10 is the second season. Or
right,
you
so
could just make this season 0.
So why not start 1 and then go to 10 and then that's season 1?
Because then you'll have to use 2 digits to hold all the amount to record the number of episodes in season 1. Or if you start with season 0, then you have 10 seasons and you only need to have 1 digit to record all the seasons.
So each season has 10 episodes?
Yes.
It goes from 0 to 9?
Yes.
And then 10 to 19?
Yes.
20 to 29.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this would be podcast 0 then, instead of podcast 1.
Yes, because it's so bad that it doesn't deserve to be 1.
Wow.
Yes.
But everything has to start somewhere, you know? When did I start telling you I would do a podcast?
I don't remember. It's been too long.
It's been too long, right? I think I started September, right? After starting to work, I was like, I want to do something on the side, right? A podcast. And so I haven't gotten to it yet because I keep thinking, oh, maybe I should listen to other people first, right? Like Joe Rogan. You listen to more than me, actually, right? Who do you listen to?
It's like I'm not trying to start a podcast.
You're not trying to start a podcast, so you absorb all that information. But then I ask you, what do you do that for?
Just for entertainment.
So you listen to podcasts for entertainment, but you have no intention or motivation to do a podcast yourself.
No.
Okay. So I feel that, I don't know, when I listen to the podcast you listen to, sometimes you're sitting there listening, right? And I'm over here doing my work and I start listening and I'm like, huh, I never thought about that. Or, wow, this is really crazy, right? And I feel like I want to talk with other people and see what they think in my circle. Because usually the people you listen to, Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, who else? Ben Shapiro.
Yes.
They're all celebrities in a way, right? And they talk to other celebrities. So they all have celebrity views in a way. They view the world through the eyes of a celebrity, right? I'm not a celebrity.
Are they really that big of celebrities though?
Well, they have a big following, right? I think Joe Rogan has like.
It's like the difference. It's like this distinction between famous and internet famous. Like back then, who was the guy who flew across the Atlantic that was also a Nazi sympathizer?
Charles Lindenberg?
No, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Lindenberg.
You don't know it was Lindenberg or not? I think it was Charles Lindenberg. Because they wrote a book on it, the plot that to destroy America or something. And then Charles Lindenberg became president instead of FDR.
Oh, not Charles Lindenberg.
It's not Charles Lindenberg? Let's see if my historical memory is accurate.
Oh, it is Charles Lindenberg.
It is Charles Lindenberg, right? He's the one that flew across the ocean, right?
Yes.
And so, what are you saying about Charles Lindenberg? That he was
famous, but now with the rise of the internet, you could be famous in other ways because you have a large following of people that are highly specialized, and a lot of people will follow that one person, but your average person will know about them.
So this is CGP Gray's argument that the internet allows you to create specialized group, and then that specialized group follows has a particular taste, right?
Yes.
But let's use CGP Grey as an example, right? He had to start creating videos or creating podcasts first, and then he gained a following. No,
he wouldn't like being used as an example.
He doesn't like being used as an example.
I'm pretty sure he wouldn't like his name being. Well, he might like it. I don't know what he would like. Well, I'm pretty sure he has a very private life.
Well, you know more about him than I do, so probably true.
You're making me sound creepy, Austin.
Oh.
You're making me sound like some creepy stalker.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to. It's just the fact that you do know more about him than I just listen based on what you listen to. But like in the beginning, I did listen to Joe Rogan's first episode because I wanted to see how it is, and thank goodness his first episode is not like his other ones. You know, it's very rookie, very rough. It's not edited, right? And so you hear him like clicking around and trying to figure things out. And if that's my first episode, if this is our first episode, I'm pretty okay with it too.
There's like NPR podcasts, which I'm not into.
Well,
but
so NPR, so that's like
the NPR world is extremely well produced.
Sure, I mean they're NPR, right? National Public Radio. They're an organization. I'm just one person, Austin. I'm like nobody. You know what I mean? So if I have to get to NPR level, I got to start somewhere. All right, let's go back to the point of starting somewhere. You know, so if should I just make a bad first episode or wait 3 more months and maybe produce a episode that's a little better, but you know that 3-month gap was wasted. What do you think?
Probably a bad first episode.
Probably a bad first episode. I need to start somewhere, right? Don't you think that once you start something, it like gets rolling again?
Yeah, but I'm saying that there's a lot of obvious flaws in the setup right now.
Well, sure. You know, you want to describe the setup right now?
It's a laptop. That's it.
That's it. I'm using Zoom. It's a laptop. That's it.
I have a comfortable chair.
You have a comfortable chair.
I have a superior gaming chair.
Sure. And when you drink water...
That's why I'm better than you at games.
Okay. And when you drink water, probably the audience will hear it. Will the audience hear this?
I don't know.
You don't know. Well, okay. But this is a start. That's my point. It's not perfect. But You think 20 episodes later it'll still be like this?
Yes, possibly.
Okay, fine, possibly. I'll probably get a mic at that point. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I have to start somewhere, right? And
Yes.
and so like, okay, maybe not best audio right now, but I don't know how this will turn out. I do think though with Zoom, the possibilities of talking to people are there's a lot more possibilities because with the podcast you hear, right? Usually the person comes into a studio, right?
Yes.
It's not online usually.
Well, it's not online. Do you mean it's not live streamed?
It's not like a Zoom meeting, you know, where it's like person to person. Does Jordan Peterson
yes,
do
it's
Zoom
not.
meetings?
He does.
He
He
does.
does meetings that are over the wire. Yes.
Over the wire, right. And so I think most of my meetings are going to be over the wire, right? Because I can't invite someone every week to our house or like invite. I don't have a studio, so it's mostly going to be through Zoom. And what I want to do is give people the option of doing video or not. So you didn't want to do video. Why is that?
Well, I don't like video.
You don't like video. You don't want your
Yes.
face internet and turn into a meme or something. Right.
Well, I just don't want face online.
You just don't want your face online.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm okay with that. Maybe like I don't know the darkness of the web, and so I'm okay with that. But for me, I'm okay. I know that other people, they might not want their face on, right? And so with Zoom, you have that option. You know, it could just be my face
Yes, and a blank screen for me.
and a blank screen for you. But for us right now, both of us, no face, right? So this is just the test run for audio. Forget about video. Video I'll do next week. And so that should be more interesting.
Do you have a Zoom account? How are you recording for this long?
If I have a Zoom
Isn't
account,
there a limit to how long you could record on Zoom for?
until memory runs out, I think.
No,
And
but
plus, this is recording to my computer.
I'm saying that doesn't Zoom have a limit to how long you could hold a meeting for if you don't sign up for their service and give them money?
But I'm using Rutgers, so I have a
Doesn't that
limited.
mean that Rutgers will have access to this in some way?
Yeah, but I plan to delete it after I download it to my computer and make some edits, and so that's it. And look, they sent me an email at the end of January that I have. No, sorry, they sent me an email at the start of January that I have until the end of January to save all my recordings. Otherwise, it's going to be deleted. And then they sent me a video a week ago saying that, oh, by the way, that was a bad email. Your account will actually be stopped fall September next of this
Why
year.
are they doing that?
I don't know. I don't know why they do that. Maybe they give people like me a chance. And so that's one of the reasons that I was like, I gotta do this. Because I said I gotta do this podcast since September of last year, September 2021. And I never did it. Right. And so January come this email, I'm like, oh no, I'm losing this Zoom. And so I might not be able to do this anymore. I have to pay money if I want to do
You should
this.
find recording software that's free.
I tried Googling before, but I
I'm
didn't
pretty
find
sure
any.
It's not recording software that will cost money. What will cost money is audio editing software. What's recording is probably free.
I was thinking to start out with just iMovie.
iMovie, is that free?
iMovie's free. Yeah,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
did all like high school projects, college projects, all on iMovie. And so I was thinking to start there. I don't know what other people use, but that's the only software I know how to use. And I don't know how to do any other ones. And so maybe I won't use iMovie after 10 episodes, but I guess that's what I'm doing
iMovie
for
is
now.
not for audio.
iMovie is not for audio.
Yes.
Well, so I guess that's a bridge we'll have to cross another time.
I mean, you could make it work.
iMovie work? I want to see how it turns out. So yeah, I think. So what do you think? After we make this first episode, right? I was thinking that for each episode I make and each person I talk to, I add them to an email chain. And so, like as I talk with more people, I can build on that email chain.
So when are you going to email everyone on the list?
As soon as I make the next podcast.
That's going to get very annoying for a lot of people very quickly.
Okay, maybe not email them.
Just have contact info down and want to talk to them, just contact them.
True. Okay. Contact them. I was also thinking that each person I talk to, they could then promote it to their their circle of friends.
Yeah, but you won't really know.
What do you mean I
You
won't
won't
really
really know people that are separated from you by one person.
That's okay. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, if you're doing subscribers, right? You don't know the person personally, but you subscribe to their channel
Why are you
because
talking about the subscriber? You're talking about guests that you want on to talk to.
yeah,
But well, it doesn't matter if you don't know your subscribers, but you should at least have a basic understanding of the person you're talking to before you
right.
talk to
I
them.
think that the people around me, as I spiral out, I know something about them, though, right?
Well, you think you'll know something about what the people that I know by talking to me, and then just based on that, you can talk to them.
Oh no, I'm not talking to your friends.
You're talking. Aren't you saying that you're going to talk to friends of your friends?
No, I'm not going to talk to friends of my friends. I'm talking with people that I've known at some point in my life and reconnect with them. Because it's like you said, after high school or after college for me too, you just don't, everyone goes their separate ways, right? And I don't like that. And I became
That's what
disillusioned.
high school reunions are for.
It's true, but that's like a once time and that's it. And it's a group setting. So in a group setting, like you don't, it's very surface, like, oh, how you doing now? And then, oh, and it's there's you can't really get pretty deep in a group setting. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Versus an individual setting. That's why I don't want to do a podcast with like more than, it's just one-on-one, right? I don't want to do more than two people in a podcast because then it's just, it might be one person sitting there. That's it.
What do you mean, one person talking on their own?
No, you could have two people talking and then the third wheel, right? And
Oh,
then,
I see. Yes.
right, and then that person's just there. And I don't know. I feel kind of bad if that happens, because it's like they're there, but they're not. We see them, but people listening
They're not
might not.
participating.
Right, right. Do you think that's the case for, I guess, our group meetings that we both have come as church meetings? Do you think church meetings are too big, so that's why people don't talk?
Do I have to think about this? Are they too big?
Or is it people are not familiar with each other, and so you're afraid of saying something
That's definitely part of it.
that's definitely part of it, right? And so I that's why I want one-on-one, because I'm disillusioned by like big meetings and then meeting in groups, because then you don't really get to know a person. It's
That's
just,
why there are small groups in the church meeting that we go to.
yeah, but they're
those
not small
groups are too
enough.
big. Yes, I know.
They're not small enough. Like you can't. It's almost like you have 100 people and it's like, oh, it's too big, so let's split to 10 people. It should be the other way around. It should be, I'm have a super strong bond with another person, right? You got two people out of 100 people,
Yes.
right? And those two people can form another bond with two other people. That makes four people, right?
Yes.
What is that? 4% of the whole thing.
Yes.
And then four people can form with 8. And then you have a small group then.
Yeah, but people don't have strong bonds these days.
Why is that?
Because internet, they don't have to talk as much. They just, when they talk, it's over the line. It's online.
So shouldn't we talk more to people in person then, so that we get better at it?
Well, it was already unpopular before COVID, because people could talk online.
Talking with people in person?
Right, and now with COVID, it's even less popular.
So is it that people don't want to talk to each other, or this talk is surface level?
It's people. It's both of them. People don't want to talk to each other because they might have things that they enjoy more, like playing games.
Right.
And also, and maybe if the talk was deep enough, then they would be more interested in it.
Okay, but let's say like you want to form, like, I guess you don't need to form a deep relationship until you get married, right?
Well, you don't need to get married either, so you don't need to even form.
You don't have to, right?
Then.
But let's say you do want to get married, right? Then you have to form a deep relationship, or I guess in a lot of cases they don't form a deep
relationship.
relationship.
What do you mean by, because you could always get divorced or live in a miserable marriage.
Right, but like no one wants that. You think like when two people get married, they want to be miserable.
No.
Like when they get married, they have a vision, right? At least where they have a yearning or a hope that this is gonna be good, right? They say their marriage vows too, right? Till death do us part or whatever. What I don't know what's in a marriage vow, right? But so if you don't know how to form a long-term relationship, then like is marriage like then the first try at a deep relationship?
That's a terrible first trial.
Right. So it goes back to the concept of trying out this crappy first video. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like at least it's bad, but I know it's bad.
At least it's there.
It's there. You know, I'm gonna try to make it better and better and better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Go for it.
Go for it. But I want to go back to this point. You said before COVID, people already don't want to talk with other people, or they don't want a deep conversation. You think you and I get in deep conversations?
Yes.
I actually think that it's only certain times we get a deep conversation.
Oh yes, but you just said do we? And then
Yeah. Okay.
yes.
Sure. Okay. That. Yes. All
like,
right.
what do you mean deep conversation every one a week? No, not that.
So how often do you think? Once a month?
Maybe slightly more than that.
Slightly more than that. You think other siblings get in deep conversations?
Depends on the siblings.
Depends on the siblings. You think if two siblings think alike and are very similar, then they'll get in more deep conversations?
Possibly.
Or is it polar opposites just don't talk with each other? Or no, that actually fits into the thing. Or polar opposites, they get to talk with more of each other.
Depends how they're opposite each other.
True.
Maybe if they're both interested in, like, say, the sciences, and they have opposing. Actually, no, even more than that. In Richard Feynman's like autobiography, he talks about how he's like a very good friend with an artist, and how he would try to teach him physics, and the artist would try to teach him art. And it's very funny because all his attempts to teach him physics don't go as well as Feynman probably intends to. And it seems like they would have been able to have good conversations with each other, but
how about
because they're opposite.
What about the other way around? If Feynman was unable to teach this artist physics, was the artist able to teach Feynman?
Yes.
Yes, right?
Yes.
I always think, and this is not to downcast the arts majors, but I think that STEM, it's harder to learn versus art and history. Because I think there's a certain rigor to science.
You're right or you're wrong.
You're right or right, exactly. You can't BS.
You can't BS your way. People have BS their way. It's just
through science.
Yeah. Like
you can BS your way through physics. I don't think you can.
People will someone got a Nobel Prize for lobotomy. That sounds like BSing your way to science or me.
Well,
they should give me a Nobel Prize for castration.
But that
make all the violent sex offenders go away.
Well,
that should be a Nobel Prize in biology and peace.
Well, okay. Well, that was not recent, right? Let's get that cleared up. That wasn't not like 2000 after. That was like 1900s and probably early 1900s.
No.
You know, when eugenics.
Lobotomy, Nobel Prize. Let's see.
Okay, let's see. Because science at one point was not like, how do you say this? At one point, eugenics was like in mainstream science, right? So for those who don't know, eugenics is the idea that you should cut off the reproductive processes of people deemed unfit in society.
Right. It was 1949 when the Nobel Prize for lobotomy.
Okay, so after 1960s, people start, I think, becoming more concerned about human rights and people rather than like group identity, I think, but specifically the person. So I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. Of course, the fact that we find this preposterous today and no one would get a Nobel Prize for lobotomy says something about what we think of lobotomy.
I was also joking slightly a bit when I was saying that you can BS your way through sciences. I think the way that you can tell that the sciences is more rigorous than the social sciences, so things like history, art, etc., is like when has there been a big call out of a person says that, oh, you are really dead wrong about this. Like, can you point to any event in history where someone just says, oh, you're just, or in art where someone just says, oh, you're flat out wrong about it? Like, people have these ridiculous pieces of art, and other people will rise up and say, well, it's just their way of art. Like, they have a blank canvas and call that art, and no one will call them out on that because there's like no way to say that, oh, you're wrong about this being a objectively good piece of art. But on the other hand, in sciences, let's see, let me look this up. There was the name of a guy who,
But on this point of,
a guy called Jan Hendrik Schong, I think that was his name.
what about him?
John Hendrik Schong.
But I think that you okay. You said
Hendrik
that.
Schong was or so this is from Wikipedia. He's a German physicist who briefly rose to prominence after doing a bunch of research on semiconductors that were discovered to be fraudulent. And he received he received a prize for physics in 2001. And he also received another prize in 2002 that are both rescinded. So basically what happened was that he was making up a bunch of BS data, and that gave the impression that he was going to make some breakthrough through semiconductors and transistors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important because you need semiconductors and transistors in order to build better computers, which we all want more of. But
Right,
eventually
to
he will
function in
point
our
out.
society.
And there's also like economics. You can also, well, I don't know if this is economics, but fine, biology, there's Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes. Like,
True.
she was this big star. She rose to fame, and everyone.
What did she do exactly?
What did she do?
She made good meds.
The theory was that the insulin machine that measures the amount of insulin in your blood.
Right.
She was making a machine like that, but it could measure all types of uh, biometrics.
Oh.
So you can measure like fat and cholesterol. I think those are the same thing. Blood pressure, all with just like a little bit of blood, not like.
And it wasn't.
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Right. Some people are even like skeptical of its theoretical possibility.
Wow. Huh. I forgot how we got here, but I think
we were talking about rigor and how science is more rigorous than social science.
You're more on top of things than I am.
I mean,
okay, but
there are the grievance studies hoaxes. Do you know about these?
No, I don't know about grievance studies hoaxes.
You should look up like James Lindsay and Peter Boghossian. They basically wrote fake social studies papers.
On what?
On like, let's see. I want to read the title because it makes me happy every time I read the.
It's kind of funny. But I think people you said that no one has called out like people in the humanities and said this is wrong.
I'm saying that the call outs aren't like as big as the ones such as.
I think they are. You just don't know about it or hear about it.
Well, that's the point. If
do you know Hegel? Do you know Hegel?
Slightly, because you talked about him.
How about Nietzsche?
Nietzsche, yes.
Yes, right? I think how about Marx? Karl Marx?
Oh, yes.
Right, he completely shifted the way we viewed history. Right, history before Marx was kind of viewed through the big man. Right, that was the idea before Marx. Yes. And Marx kind of proposed this idea that the common man has the ability to influence history. This is like during
they influence history. You could say by definition, they were one of the great men. Like
but that's
the founder, like Samuel Gompers, like the father of American like labor union, was also a great man and influenced history.
Right, but
if you want to help fight for labor causes, you shouldn't care about common man history. You should focus on great man history and just focus on Gompers and look at what he did, right?
But here's the paradox for the great man history. Gompers was influenced by his time and became the person because of his time, right? So in order to understand how he became Gompers, you first have to look at his background or look at the people he wanted to help. Because he wouldn't be Gompers if he was in Middle Age, Bronze Age era. You know what I mean? He can't create a labor union out of nowhere, right? There were specific circumstances that allowed him to start creating labor unions.
That's true.
And if there wasn't an industrial revolution, there wouldn't be a need for labor unions.
sense. That's
right?
also true.
Because it's just a village system where you make stuff. So are people made because of the times, or are the times made because of the people? This is the paradox of the great man theory of history. Because so one of the
It's
great
like what
man
came first, chicken or the egg?
Yeah, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So Napoleon, right? If there was no French Revolution, would there be a Napoleon?
That's true.
Right, but would Napoleon have carried the French Revolution to the next stage?
Probably the most infamous example is like Hitler.
Okay,
would
Hitler.
Hitler have existed if there was World War One to make Hitler?
Right.
And would
exactly.
Hitler have existed if our school didn't reject Hitler?
Right.
I've seen like jokes on that Reddit. It's like they put a painting and say, "Oh, it's great painting, isn't it? Oh, you just like one of Hitler's work of art."
Right, and that's also one of the big scenes in Lincoln. Have you watched that movie?
No.
He's sitting in a telegraph office and they're typing a message, and he asked the two telegraph operators, I forgot the exact quote, but did the times make the man, or the man make it the times?
Well, it's both of them.
And then one of the telegraph operators was like, "You, sir, you make the times."
It's clearly both of them. If there was no
Right.
slavery for Lincoln to fight, Lincoln wouldn't have changed slavery.
There would be no slavery change.
Well, Lincoln
right.
wouldn't have like a ton of preserved the Union and then like issue emancipation and lay the groundwork for the emancipation of all slaves.
Right.
Did he sign the 13th Amendment? He did, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then emancipate all the slaves.
No, I think it's Emancipation Proclamation first.
Right,
and the 13th
but
Amendment.
he still did emancipate all the slaves.
13th Amendment emancipated
all the slaves, yes.
Right.
It's
so there's just slavery is
details.
banned.
Right.
Although there's modern forms of slavery like sexual slavery.
People also say there's wage slavery.
There's wage slavery.
Yeah, awesome.
You're kept in this job for perpetuity. You know, like, is that wage slavery?
What do you mean?
What is I'm trying to figure out what is wage slavery.
Wage slavery is basically when you have no other better options than just to work at very low wages because all your money goes to your
rent,
necessary
food,
expenses,
and you have no money to spend, so you're constantly kept in that position.
And you're not able to move up the social ladder.
But then I would ask, what got you in that position? Like, you shouldn't be in that position, right? We agree that we should, like.
No, that's like saying to a slave, well, how did you become a slave? That's like telling a black man in the 1800s, well, how did you come to America as a slave? Well, his tribe was probably beaten up by another African tribe and sold to the colonists. Well, no, not colonists.
Slave traders, and then shipped
to America
through the triangular trade to the U.S. Okay, but that's like, but you're asking the child of a slave. He's born into slavery, right? You're born into the condition of slavery. Oh, you're asking the slave, how'd you get into this? And then he actually came from Africa, was captured, and all that. That's true, but with wages,
it's like, does it really matter how they got it?
Because I think wage-wise, it does matter.
I mean, this gets to a problem of like how much agency should you attribute to a person.
Right.
Like you could technically, although it's really stupid, say to the black slave in like the 1800s, well, maybe you shouldn't have lost the war that your tribe was in. And it's like, well, yeah, that's great and all, but
it doesn't help. It doesn't help.
But now you could like now in our time, you could say, well, maybe you shouldn't spend like only 25 hours working a week and done something more.
Right. Yeah. But you see, I think that's a different like level. You losing a war and then getting enslaved is different than not using your time wisely.
Right.
You know what? It's not using your time wisely or not. It's like
it is using your time wisely in the second scenario.
I don't think it's just using time wisely, but it has to do with your life decisions, not necessarily with time. Like, let's say you graduated from high school.
If you didn't succeed because of the way you use your time, that by definition, you didn't use your time wisely.
Right, but sometimes I don't think it's...
Like, it doesn't matter if you were, like, say, a really successful peasant in the, like, Soviet Union before Stalin came, and then you got, like, this taken away and to the gulag. You didn't use your time wisely. You didn't like prepare for what was going to happen.
No, but you see in that example, the peasant had like how did you know Stalin was going to come along and take you to the gulag? You don't.
He doesn't. Well, that's true. That's true.
Right.
Yes.
So like for the peasant, I would say it's more like when you were at the gulag, why didn't you rebel?
Because you can't.
You know what I mean? Because you can't. You don't have the energy.
You'll get shot.
You get shot. right?
Yeah.
But the fact that you made an attempt, you see, so the wage slavery, it's not like you get shot in a gulag. It's the end of your life.
Yes.
You know, I guess I guess the argument is that it's a vicious circle. You get trapped in it. But I'm thinking, like, was there a point where
just like the 0 point, because once you have nothing, you can't really make any moves.
yes, right? You're just trapped in it. And that's the problem. But I'm like, why are you a 40-year-old and
Working like a minimum wage job.
right? Like I guess the
I
conservative
don't know, Austin. Maybe he was like a really successful banker, and then 2008 crisis came along, and he lost everything.
did he didn't save any money.
Well, all his money wasn't.
Oh, his money wasn't so. But you see, that's that you made that
He
decision.
gave all his money to Bernie Madoff.
Okay, but you
Well,
see,
I'm pretty sure that was before the stock crash.
it's no, Bernie Madoff got in trouble because of the 2008 financial crisis, because then everyone wanted their money back, right? And so he didn't have the money to give up to people. But like you had to have made a decision, like for the stockbroker example, he made a decision to invest all in there, right? And it
Yes.
failed him.
Yes.
That's that, right? Maybe you're a waiter. You've been a waiter since you left high school. You just didn't want to go to college, right? And now this job just doesn't give you enough money, and you're just stuck in it. And there's no opportunities for you because you're not young anymore. People don't want to hire you. And then training, you don't have time. When you get home, you're tired, right? Like I get to work from home, right? At least today and tomorrow, right? So I don't go to commute. But it's commuting and then going to work and then coming back, it's tiring. When you get back home, you just want to relax.
Do nothing.
Right? So on this point then, it's not that you're not using your time wisely. You need time to like just relax, right?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You think you could beat
be-
yourself?
Yeah.
Beat yourself up to like keep pushing and
I think this
pushing?
could be no. Well, I think you could do productive things that are relaxing as well. Like, isn't this relaxing in some way? Good shit
Yeah.
on the server.
It's cathartic, I guess. You
Exactly.
right? But I guess
This
it's
is why the advice of love what you do is like so infuriating. Because for people who can do that, it's very good for them. But it's hard to do that for a lot of people.
to get started or
To do what they love or love to like their job.
or to love their job. Right. Is it because they don't have time, or they're just not in the right place then?
No, because a lot of things that are people are interested in aren't profitable. Like this is probably going to make you a lot of money.
True, but I mean, like, you just do it, right? I guess the main thing for those people then who are stuck in this wage slavery situation would be give them time to do something else, you know. But I don't think the problem is just wages. I think there's a lot of factors that lead you to that position, right? We're always told to get more education, right? If you
Mhm.
chose not to get more education, well, no one's going to condemn you for it, but you made a choice there, right? And let's say you decide to have a kid, even though you're still working a minimum
Yes,
wage
yeah.
job. That's not a good idea,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But if you do it, no one's going to condemn you or put you to death or shoot you like in a gulag, right?
Right.
But it's like it's like a bridge, and you're constantly testing how much more weight you can put on it until you just
Or it's like a smoker's lungs. You're just putting in another cigarette, seeing how much more your lungs can take.
exactly. I'm thinking of
Or-
Tally right now. I don't know if you're thinking about that too. Okay. But no, that's exactly the point. It's like you're almost like testing when am I gonna break? You know what I mean? And then it's like, I don't know, maybe we're lucky in that we have a community that I think will take care of you.
Well, yeah, I've been like putting a lot of stress on my and it's still holding up. I need
Right.
to start offloading some pretty soon.
Right. So I mean, oh, we could get into that.
Let's not get into that.
You don't want to get into
No,
that?
I
No, I don't want to talk about your personal stuff.
All right, I'll
right?
talk about your personal stuff. Here's the point that I was trying to talk about when I was saying like use your time wisely.
Okay.
Because from my point of view, when I see you like look at your time,
Mm-hmm.
well, I also thought about internships, but I was like thinking about internships in like high school as well. Because in sophomore year, it was like we had this business class, and then they got our teachers, because our teacher changed midway throughout the year. I think they were talking about like, oh, in high school you should kind of look for internship and stuff. And I was like, well, so you should. And then in senior year, I actually had a classmate who already got like one of those minimum wage sort of jobs. So I was like, okay, so if you really want to be ahead of the game, then you gotta already have a job in high school or college. Better in high school. And then I was looking, but then in college, there were also like a teacher who was saying like, oh, you shouldn't focus on getting a job. You should focus more on the education side of it. And I was thinking like, well, is it though? Because you also told me this also is connected to another thing which you told me about, which is that you knew some people who, as soon as they got out of college, they were looking for like six-figure jobs, and they were like complaining that they couldn't have it. Then I also remembered you. Oh, maybe not necessarily come from you, but I also remembered another story where you were talking about how these people like they interned at like JP Morgan and all these big banks and whatnot, and when they were done with college, they were able to get six-figure jobs and whatnot. I was thinking like, well, if you were using your time, if the people who were wanting six-figure jobs was using their time wisely, they would not focus on education as much and should have also had like an internship. But maybe they were just super busy or something. I don't know.
I don't know either. I think it depends on person to person. And I guess that was
What do you mean it depends on person to person?
Whether,
I feel like if any person like got the internship and then had the same credentials from their college, then they would have probably found a six-figure job as well.
Can you say that again?
If you switch out the person who didn't have the six-figure job and the person who did get the six-figure job, and you switch what they did, how they spent their time in college, then the person who initially didn't have the six-figure job would get the six-figure job because they had all the necessary requirements. They had an internship. They probably had a good relationship with.
So you're saying it's not really the person, but what they've done to build their credentials.
Yes.
To get to a certain point.
Yes.
I think you know what? I think that was how I thought a bit in college, and that's what led to my resentment of like, oh, this person did everything right, and so they were able to get to a six-figure job. You know what I mean? But right. I think that's thinking too linearly, in that
too simply, right?
In a way, too simply. Like Dad's favorite example is the Colonel of KFC, right?
Right.
He didn't have to get to KFC. It wasn't a straight shot for him, right? He had a lot of failures in life, bouncing around, different marriages, all that. And so you could say when he was like 40 years old before he found KFC, like he's a failure, right?
Yes.
But his name, his image is out there now, right?
Right. And
so,
he got successful.
Right. And then afterwards, when KFC became franchise, he hated the food. But that's another story because he thought the quality all went bad. But like some people don't find their path or where they need to go until later, right? And then they become successful. What's to say like so that doesn't fall in the linear perspective, you know what I mean? Of like you need to get an internship in not even college anymore. I guess it's in high school now. And then in college, you gotta.
Well, you can also say that the Colonel was on a path of entrepreneurship. So he tried to start a lot of businesses, and most of them failed, as most businesses do. But then he eventually found a successful one. True. So in his case, let's say there are two scenarios. One scenario A is standard scenario, which is go to college, do well, do internships, and like get a six-figure job, and that's the standard scenario. And scenario B is you be an entrepreneur. You fail a lot, probably go bankrupt a few times in your life, and then you end up with a successful business.
But I think going to school is, I don't know if this is incorrect to say, but like going to school is entrepreneur in a way. Like the entrepreneurial spirit is there.
How are you making money when you go to school? How do you get money when you go to school? How much do they pay you for being a student?
Well, if you're in honors college, I think they pay you some money to go, right? But I guess you could say for the average student, how are you making money, right? But it's an investment. It's not like you're going to make money at that point. It's the hope that you're learning something, whether it's calculus, whether it's bio, and then eventually you can apply that knowledge and make money off.
Right, but there's also a lot of people are investing money in like I think Amazon is still like unprofitable. Maybe it isn't. But there's still a lot
unprofitable. What do you mean by that? It's like Jeff Bezos, like one of the richest people, second richest people.
But it doesn't matter it might be unprofitable, but the reason he's so rich is because he owns stocks and the value of the stocks go up.
How is Amazon unprofitable? Like anything you want now, you just go to Amazon and look for it.
That doesn't mean that they're making a profit.
Oh, really?
Well, maybe not their delivery service. I think the way that Amazon works is that they make a ton of revenue from Amazon Web Services, which is basically they manage a lot of backend stuff of websites, I think, and people pay them a lot of money to do that. And basically they use that money to finance a bunch of other stuff like Whole Foods and their delivery service as well. And Jeff Bezos.
So their revenue doesn't come in from what they're known most for, which is going
well,
on
it probably
their
does
website.
come from, I think it comes from that as well, from their shipping system. But I think that the point I was trying to make is that AWS is like one of the few profitable parts of Amazon.
Oh, wow.
So, but still, that doesn't mean that the other parts of Amazon aren't generating revenue because people are still giving Amazon money. But when you're a student, you're just giving money. Like no one's giving you money because we're not giving anyone any services or goods.
True, but it's not like as a student, it's
like
you don't get physical money. Okay, let's get that point.
You're right. But when you're a businessman and people are investing in your business, people are still giving you money, even if you're like putting in more money, like you're an investor and you're putting like $200,000 into the business, but the business is still getting like $100,000 a year. But
right.
They're still losing $100,000 a year. But there's like they might be able to make like $300,000 a year if they open 3 more stores or whatever. But if you're a student, what are you going to do like 3 times more? You're gonna put in 3 times more of your effort, and then get 3 times 0 since you're not making any money anyways.
I think for a student, the goal is I think the minimal goal is you go through college, you get a degree, right? That's the minimal goal, the degree, right? We can talk. I guess this can go into a whole conversation whether the degree is actually worth the cost. But the minimal goal.
Not the degree you see, you already have the frame wrong. The degree should be worth nothing. What should be worth is the skills that you've gained.
Right. So that's why I'm saying the degree is the minimal. Right. I'm not saying the degree is the end, and then all the end justifies all the means in which to get the degree. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's the minimal. Like if you get nothing out of college, then at least graduate. You know what I mean? But of course, we don't want to just graduate with a piece of paper.
Well,
right?
That's what we think that we want to believe that we think that.
Oh, but most people just do it for the piece of paper.
Yes. Well, most people don't just do it for a piece of paper. Most people do it because they think they learned a skill. But in the end, it just comes down to, in most cases, it just comes down to a piece of paper. Well, in my opinion.
Right.
But I mean, there are other things, like maybe there are networking effects, like you know someone who knows someone who works at a big company.
So that wasn't part of the degree or part of what.
That's still part of like college, but apart from that and the degree, it's like I'm not sure. That's probably what you're paying for when you pay for college.
I think in college even like I majored stats, right? I started out stats.
Yes.
Then I also did history because I didn't have AP credits, right? Like, I think that as you're doing it, you know that I don't truly like stats. I like, why I chose stats?
No.
Because you get
right, I remember. No, wait, I think, wasn't it because a counselor told you that you make
No, it's
a
my
lot
stats teacher. No, there wasn't my stats teacher did not take me. I make a lot of money. No, that's not the reason.
No, wasn't it like a guidance counselor or something?
It wasn't a guidance counselor. It was Mr. Hest in high school. He told me, like, I was in one of his lunch hours. I guess it's office hours in college, right? And then every senior year, like, who the heck cares about school at that point anymore, right? Everyone wants to go out and drive around and have fun.
Yeah, see, the colleges are basically just like...
No, let me finish my story.
Colleges are just expensive amusement parks or playgrounds.
But I didn't do that. I stayed, and then he's like, why are you still here learning about type 1 and type 2 error? Because I was really confused about the two. I wanted to figure it out, right? And so I'm like, I just want to figure it out,
Yes.
And he asked me if what I wanted to do, and I didn't know at that point. I really didn't. But I told everyone I was doing electrical engineering at that point because that's cool, right? But then I felt that at that point to just tell them the truth, and I said I've been telling everyone electrical engineering, but I don't know what I want to do actually. And that's when he told me, like, I think you do well in stats. And so that's actually why I went for stats. And I felt that afterwards in college, you get to dip in everything. You know, stats is used in bio, stats is used in business, stats is used in engineering, prediction, weather. Like anything you think of now, you can kind of apply stats to it, right? So that's that. I wanted a field that was very general. I could learn more. That's why I chose stats. But then history, I guess, I don't know when I started liking history. But anyways,
You always liked history.
I always liked history.
Did you say that when you were like in middle school in Mr. Mark's class? Or maybe it was not. It's funny. We have a history teacher in middle school called Mr. Marks.
Right. Maybe I'll eventually get Mr. Marks on this podcast too.
No. Anyway, didn't you were like talking about how you would read through the history book? No, it wasn't Mr. Mark's class. It was in your high school. You said you would read through your history book and take notes on each page, even though you didn't need to do that.
You don't.
Right.
Because like I think most kids, they just go on.
They just like read
cliff notes.
Oh yeah, and memorize the important part and just do as they could on the quiz.
When I did the A-Push summer assignment, I spent 15 minutes on one page. That's how slow I was at reading, digesting, and taking notes. So a chapter with 30 pages. Can you imagine how long that took?
Yes.
Yeah, do the math, right?
7.5 hours.
7.5 hours. That was my entire.
15 minutes per page?
15 minutes per page.
And how many pages?
Let's be nice and say 32. So
32,
8 hours. That was my entire Saturday afternoon. I was just taking A-Push notes. Yeah. In the summer, in the fall too. Like I think until like.
Yeah, I think that might have something to do with why you like history so much. Maybe because you like knew more than the other kids and you felt like, oh look, I'm good at history.
Or maybe I just like, screw it, I'm not gonna be good at anything else. This is my path.
Like, why were you so focused on that? I feel like if you were more focused on math or anything, you could have probably found a higher paying job more easily.
I did focus on math too. I spent like 5 hours in junior year with calc,
I remember you told me this, that you didn't understand that the 1/2 like x to the 1/2 power was synonymous as the square root, and because of that little thing that trips you up, you were like so pissed off.
It was with math, it was little things that tripped me up, and I focused on those little things instead of
so you should have just done more Khan Academy and grinded those energy points.
Maybe
and you would have
a
solid foundation.
Right, but then every day I came home from school for junior year with calc. Right, I think I was doing well with math up to sophomore year.
Calc AB was so easy, but Calc BC was.
BC
actually, I think it was okay at the start, but then
so at GL it's not AB then BC.
I know
you take BC directly.
No, but I've seen like what you guys do in like the first year from Boy Scouts. Joey Antonici was running over his homework, and I'm like, oh, this is just AB calc stuff. Just do some integration, do some derivatives, and do some like optimization process, and that's about it.
So I didn't spend time at history at all during the week. It was always Saturdays, right? During the week, every day I came home from school, either nap or do calculus, right? That was it. So I did spend time on it. It's just, it wasn't clicking with me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you spent a lot of time on it, but it didn't work out. I think what really didn't work was AP Chem. I read the textbook and I just, like with history, at least when you read, you kind of get it. You know, it's like, okay, it's pretty straightforward.
Washington did X, and then
that's it, right?
War.
This was the date, right? And then that's it. With Chem, it's like, I don't know. I read it. It's either it's very dense, or you read it and it's
I didn't like the first few like lessons are easy, and then once it gets like, and then it gets a little bit harder once you get to the moles, molar. And then when it gets like all the calculating solutions, that was.
Is this Chem honors or AP Chem?
AP Chem.
Oh, you did AP Chem too. Zumdal? Is that your textbook?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I got a 3 on that test.
Oh.
Well, it was like my second worst score.
Oh, okay. It's just something about, you read it and it's like, well, what do I do now with it? You know, and it just didn't click for me. So
I guess the solutions part is very abstract.
And actually, and it's junior year. I was like, I'm never doing anything math related ever again after the whole calc experience. But then there I was senior year, thinking, maybe stats isn't fully math in a way. You still need.
I think you should really you should have just like dedicated one time to like a field, like math or social studies.
That's true. I think about that sometimes too. But you read the short story Flowers with Algernon,
Yes.
right?
Or
That
the
story,
shortened version.
that story has stuck with me for so long. And I always thought like I want to be like that character. It's like the branches of knowledge. I want to like know, I want to be like a sponge, just soaking it in all and just like just know it all. You know what I'm like,
Yes.
omnipotent, you
No,
know?
omniscient.
You know how like
You mean
calculus has
omniscient?
omniscient.
Yes.
Omnipotent
calculus.
is everywhere.
No, that's omnipresent.
Oh, what's
Potent is like
omnipotent?
power. Like
Oh,
potency is like how
all
strong
powerful.
something is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. Not all powerful.
It's shint.
Omniscient.
Don't you remember it wasn't like sciare, the Latin word for to know.
Oh,
So
there you
that's the
go.
knowledge.
So yeah, you know more than me in that aspect. So I just wanted to kind of absorb everything, but of course that maybe I should have. I think about that still, whether I would have been better off focused in the field or not.
Well, if you
But you see, that's I think that's the entrepreneurial part. I'm just trying out different things. You know what I mean? It might not be giving me money, right? But when I had the opportunity, I tried it out. I figured out I didn't like this. I like this, and we keep moving from there. You know what I mean?
That's what we should have done in like high school or the first year of college, not the like all of college.
But it wasn't trying things out all of college.
Well, you were taking to like you were focusing on stats and history.
I already tried so much in history. Might as well get the degree, you know, or might as well do the thesis. And I actually got more from doing that thesis than stats. But I guess what you're saying is if I just focused on stats, did my own personal projects, it would have been easier to find a job, right?
Yes.
Rather than write a thesis, no one, even you probably haven't read, except 2 other people. Write a thesis that only 2 other people have read or 3 other people have read.
Your thesis advisor will read, and probably
and
nobody else.
the thesis committee, right? Yeah. And then no one remembers it after next year. You're on the website for 1 year.
Forever.
And then that's it.
Gets locked away for 30 years. And when they ask you about it when you're running for president, you say, oh, I can't show it to you.
So now Joseph's taking a dig at the president.
No, you don't explain it to people.
Don't explain it to
that
people.
makes it more interesting.
Oh, they have to go find it themselves?
Yeah.
Fine. From now on, I won't explain references that you make.
Yeah,
but
more fun.
I think that even the thesis, it doesn't get you a job or it doesn't get you money. Well, it actually did get me money. But I think that
when I have people working for me, and even though I don't give them any money, and even though, you know, they don't earn any money from me, I think it's a very good experience for me. So
I don't think I'd be doing this podcast if I just did stats completely. I'd just be analyze. I don't want to, and I wouldn't know how to talk to people. Or like, how do you get deeper into a conversation, right?
True. It's possible, yeah.
Right? Like history, like you become not so narrow-minded. But then of course it's like, if you only know history and you don't know stats, your heart like just jumps all over the place. Like that's the thing with math and science. You have to be very focused. In Chinese, there's a phrase 粗心, right? Your heart's not focused, you make a mistake, that's it, right? How many times is like you do 3 minus -3, right? If for some reason you leave out the minus sign, it changes the answer completely. You knew what you were doing, you just didn't get the right answer, right?
Yes.
So with math and science,
I think like math and science is more open and interpretive than people usually give it credit for.
Once you get higher level.
Right.
Because all the lower level classes,
like the Riemann zeta function.
Sure, but that requires high level understanding. And this is one of the ironies of math. It's that all the math you do in high school, middle school, up until college, perhaps is very calculative based, right?
Yes.
You learn the process like what's the RREF? Reduced row echelon form, Gaussian elimination, right? You learn how to do it, and then you spit out an answer, and that's it. But then I think all the mathematicians, what they like is the beauty behind
the problem solving.
Right. And that you don't touch until probably after math reasoning. So that's like your junior year of college, or even if you want to be ahead of the game, I guess sophomore year. Or I guess you could even be freshman at this point. But that's like high level. You know, all the people who are creative, probably they left for another major at that
No,
point.
not really. You could have like fun math, like the CGML questions that I did. Like those are pretty fun. There could be fun math questions.
No, but I'm talking about people, right? You say math is creative, right?
Right.
But the people who are creative, they probably didn't like the calculative nature of math.
The arithmetic.
Yes, sorry, arithmetic. That's the word. The arithmetic nature of math up until they never see it, right? Because if you're a high school student, then you're like, oh, I'm not an arithmetic person, right? So math is not for me. Then they never meet it in college.
Really? I mean, it's like, oh, I mean, I feel like.
Are you more calculative, or are you imaginative? What would you say? I think you're calculative.
I don't know. I'd say
you got through high school, like
Yes.
that. The fact that you got through high school math to get, I think it's calculated based.
Yes.
So creative, I don't know. I guess I'll leave this problem to mathematicians to figure out.
What problem?
How do you not like bleed out of creative people who are instead?
How do you not lose creative people?
Right. You're right. Yeah. Or do they actually lose creative people, or do they have us? These creative people, they need to also be arithmetic
First
too.
off, you can make sure you're not stupid math questions. Like I see these questions on Reddit. It was like, it takes 7 people to play a song in 20 minutes. How long does it take for 14 people to play the song? It's like, that's not how math works. And there was also another question. It's like, Sally took 5/6 of a pizza, and Jimmy took 4/8 of the pizza, and Jimmy took more pizza than Sally. How's that possible? And then the kid has an answer. The kid wrote, well, the pizza portion slice for Jimmy is bigger than the pizza slice for Sally.
That's true.
And the teacher said, no, you're wrong. Sally didn't take more than Jimmy. Sally did take more than Jimmy. You're just 1/2 is less than 5/6. That was
1/2. That's so dumb.
Yeah,
because that's true. Because you could have a bigger pizza slice.
Right, because you contradicted yourself in the premise.
Oh my gosh! Then that kid was pretty creative. I would have given him credit. I think that's me making the problem. That's not right.
You're not answering.
Well, then make a better problem. Then don't use pizza. Just use numbers at that point, and then the kid should be able.
Then it's too abstract for children.
Well,
I think they will be able to deal with it.
But I think that children are able to deal with it. I think
children will be able to deal with it.
Right. We did it. Now there's all this Common Core like learning initiatives. I think
here's a really big hurdle, I must say, for arithmetic. You have to memorize your times table. There's no way about it. If you don't memorize the times table, you're pretty fucked for arithmetic.
True. So I guess this goes to if a kid doesn't memorize their times table, then they get screwed over in math, right? And then they get paid wage slavery, right? Yes. Okay.
It's like, what's 8 times 7?
56.
9 times 8.
72. And you don't question why, right? You just
eventually you understand why.
Eventually, but you don't.
But it's important to know the basics, because then you can multiply the big numbers. Like in calculus, if you have to take the derivative, like what's the derivative of 136 times x to the 26th power? Well, if you don't know how to multiply 136 by 26, then if you don't know how to do mental math multiplication, it's going to take you a really long time to multiply 136 by 26.
Oh man, my computer is going to run out of power.
Can you charge it?
Yeah, I could charge it. You want to help me charge it? We're going to continue math conversation another day because there's a lot there. But there's one more topic I want to talk about, and it's the impact of COVID. You don't want to talk about that?
No, you can talk about it. I just like saying no before a person finishes their sentence.
Oh yeah, Mom was laughing because you did that to her this morning. But March 2020, right? We started. COVID started March 18th, 2020. Right? We're about to hit February. Right? So we're about a month.
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years of COVID.
Yeah.
Right? And I think what it's done, like, I think for most people like us, March 2020, we didn't really see the effects of COVID, right? We heard about it in the news. And then we heard about the death rates. We heard about these crazy stories, but it wasn't a part of our lives, right? We were just social distancing,
yes.
Right? And so this recent wave with Omicron, that kind of hit closer to home, right? You start hearing people that
Well, not me, because my social circle is very small.
your social circle is very
Who
small.
did you hear that I know, that I might know, that got all the people that you work with?
People that
Like they got
their kids got, dad's coworkers got COVID, right?
right.
And
but
I
did
think
any
some
of them
people in
die?
church got. I don't know if
Like
they.
grandpa might have died from COVID.
Well,
but
he
then
got it
might have-
twice, so.
And then he was also old, so he might have died from old age or COVID. But who knows?
Right, but I definitely feel at this time around with Omicron, it's coming closer in our socials, in my social circle.
I feel like it's people are making too big of a deal out of this. It's like I'm very on the right wing of the when it comes to
Right. So
reaction.
I think it's because that this goes into my theory that it's because we haven't. It's like March 2020 where it's not a real. It's not like the Black Plague in front of you.
I feel like
right.
if COVID wasn't such a big deal, you wouldn't like even care that much that someone got COVID.
Oh,
It would have just been like the cold. Honestly.
It would have been like that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
You don't agree? What's wrong?
It's not. I don't.
Idea?
I hear both sides. Like it wouldn't have been as big a deal, but also that you diminish the fact that you diminish its impact on society is kind of ignorant or like.
You can also make the argument. Well, I also want to make the argument that a large part of the impact comes from mandatory lockdowns and stuff.
Oh, sure, we could get into the mental effects of mandatory, but like we're not frontline healthcare workers, right? So we're kind of like isolated from. As long as we social distance or stay at home, you wouldn't see the disease, right? But for those who are being overwhelmed by it, right?
Yes.
That they see the other side of this story.
I mean, I was in like an emergency room during the COVID pandemic, and it seems the
But
same.
that was the
and it
safe
looked like
point.
the same the last time I went there. That was a safe one.
That was during the summer was when it was safe, and that's when people were like, "Why are you still wearing a mask? The pandemic's over." But this goes into my idea. My idea is like, who said it was over? It's still a positive infection rate. People are still getting infected each day. Right. So with calculus, it's like if the rate of increase is positive, right, then the people who actually have COVID is still going.
Case numbers? Like, what are the case numbers for flu? I mean, I'm pretty sure the case numbers for COVID are higher. I'm pretty sure COVID is probably more severe as well. But I feel like it's still like within the same magnitude of the flu. I don't think it's like 2 orders of magnitude more infectious than the flu. I don't think.
I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers. So anything I say, it's like, it's I wouldn't trust myself on that. But what I do want to talk about is less so COVID itself, but more so impact on people, like the social distancing, like the mental health stuff, right? I feel that if you or your family wasn't exposed to COVID, it's really like CGP is saying the spaceship you, right? You're on your own. What are you going to do with your time? You have tons of time, right? Things are convenient. And I feel that 2 ways you could go is, one, you become a couch potato, right?
Well, some people are doing really well. Like in CGP, in like the Cortex podcast, Gray was like, "Oh, it was a pretty good year for me during COVID." Yeah.
So the other thing is like COVID is like a cocoon for you, right? And hopefully, when this is all over, when things go back to quote unquote normal, you emerge like a butterfly. You know, you're a brand new person. You're like you were better than the person before the pandemic, right? I would say for myself, if I had to say couch potato or butterfly, so far I think I'm a couch potato.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel that I didn't.
Because you need to talk to people.
I didn't talk to people, right? I used to talk to people a lot, but that's part of becoming disillusioned with people. I just didn't want to talk to people anymore these past 2 years, because I felt like you talk to people, right, or you try to form a deep bond with them. After college, they just leave, you know.
Yep.
It's that's it. And if I don't reach out to them, they won't reach out to me. I had that impression. I still kind of have that impression. except there's some people that broke that impression. And so I can no longer absolutely say like, this is,
Well, yeah, but that's just an outlier.
right. You could say it's an outlier, but so it's still something I grapple with, whether it is in fact an outlier, or maybe give it enough time, things will change. But I guess that's one of the reasons I want to do this podcast. It's my way not to be a couch potato. I hope it's to be a cocoon. You know what I mean? To make up for all the time lost. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, don't play so many video games, Austin.
Video games are fun, and I don't. There was a quote from someone in high school when I was a freshman. It was an intro to electronics class, and when
wasn't
this kid,
when I'm graduating, I just want to sit on a beach and play video games or something.
No, it wasn't that. It was time spent having fun is not time wasted. Or something like that.
Time well spent.
It's time well spent, right? Time spent having fun is time well spent. And then my teachers laughed when he saw the senior quote, because he's like, this couldn't have described you better to that kid, because the kid did no work in class at all. He just like he just played games, right? And he had a good time. And he's like, okay. And
what did he play it on?
Everyone had an iPad and GL, right? So it was GL. So I mean, do I regret the amount of time I played? I guess I should play less, right? We can always look back to it, and this goes into like why when you said like the path now is you have to have an internship in high school, and then college you have to do it well, and then on and on.
Yes.
But this is all
on and on.
What is it for? Is it just to get to that 6-figure job for you?
Well, that's the midway point to some other goal that I don't know what it is.
That's the midpoint goal. But that's the thing. It's like, how do you say this? What if you stumbled on a certain part of that process? Then
you get back up and keep on doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
You can do that?
I can't do that. But I'm saying
you can't do that. You should. No, but I don't think it's just you can't do that. I don't think a lot of people, they stumble and they feel like, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
I don't think it's over. It's not over till it's over, right?
It's not over till you're dead.
You could say that, but I feel that there's like, this is America, the land of second chances. You still have a lot of time.
It was a land of opportunity, Austin, not the land of second chances.
Jared Kushner said it was land of second chances.
Well, a lot of people think it represents America.
Right, but I think for me, I've gotten a lot of second chances growing up. A lot of second chances. I don't know if you got second chances. Actually, do you think we notice when we get a second chance?
You think we notice?
I'd say I'm
aware. I'd say I'm aware, but I don't notice.
You're aware, but how are you aware of something but don't notice it?
I just realize it when it passes me by.
You realize when it passes by. So only when it passes by and it's gone, then you realize it was there.
Kind of, yeah. Well, not always.
Okay, that's kind of like me. I think that in the moment you probably don't realize it's a second chance, but when it passes by or you take it, you can only realize in hindsight whether it was a second chance or not. So then what do you do? I think you got to take every chance you have, or take everything that looks like a chance. No,
because like you can only do so much. You can't like take every opportunity.
You can't, right? You can't take every opportunity, but I think right now we can do it. Like, there's not much going on for us, right?
True, yeah.
You're right. You say I play too much video games, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay playing video games. I've been told my whole life to work hard, right? From K to 12 and then through college, right?
Mm-hmm.
I finally graduated college, and then people are like, you should keep learning, keep training, ... I'm like, forget about it. I just want to like sit back a bit. But of course, you can't do that your whole life. So hopefully with this podcast, I jump back into
that's what would be really nice. So if you could do that your whole life, just relax and do stuff. See, here's the thing. I would wish if we could have communism or socialism. I would really want that to happen. But the problem is that in order to have that, you need to have a lot of value and a lot of capital. But in order to generate that capital, we need a lot of capitalism first. And right now, I think we made great progress. I think we're like maybe 50% of the way. But for now, I don't think we still need to generate a lot more progress, a lot more value before we could have that.
This is the thing I never got with socialism and communism. You're asking
I
society
don't even know
to.
what the strict definition of those words are.
It's,
Go
it's
on.
okay. Professors can't even give me a clear definition of socialism or communism. But like, you're asking society to determine for you your path. It's like you read The Giver, right? They each
Is
get
that what it
assigned
is?
a job.
I say
right?
that a lot of people say,
No
well,
one's unemployed.
democratic socialism is that you have a safety net, so you could try a
So
lot of businesses ideas that you have and do whatever you want, and you don't have to like starve to death in case they fail.
you have a social safety net to be entrepreneurial.
Yeah, or you could just live
Who's-
off of the
then
social
who's-
safety net.
Who's providing the capital to let you try different things?
It's all been generated, and that's why I'm saying we're only like maybe 50% of the way there.
Right, but
Like this is
Like,
just like
that-
utopian dreaming that there's no more poverty. Like all the arid land in Africa has been turned into like fertile farmland.
but someone's got to go do that hard work first to get to that point where
right, and that's why I say there's still capitalism. We still need capitalism to generate that
I don't-
remaining like 50%
your
of the value.
generation, man. You guys are like,
I'm not saying that we should spend a lot of money right now.
no, I know what you mean, but you're saying you guys wish, like, I heard this from someone else. It was that in the nation, in order to get rich, they should employ capitalist system. But once they're rich, they should employ socialist system. And then once they lose all that money to socialist trying or stuff, they should employ capitalism again. And so it's like a cycle. I don't see it that way. I'm like, if capitalism got us to this point, why not keep employing it and better? It's like if you were to employ socialism at the time of Marx, right? If Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto and he was God, and so it was from that point on, right? You wouldn't have iPad. You would just be stuck in 1800s society, because socialism fixes that status quo, I think. There's no motive to innovate or to break the status quo, right? You need to maintain it. Or do I see something wrong?
That's
It's like
one way to look at it.
Right. So if you, like, today's socialists, if you want to create a socialist society, you would say that today's society is what we want to maintain, right? Or we want
I
to
say
bring
we need
everyone up,
more. I said we need like more value.
or we need to bring all the poor and disenfranchised people to the level of, I guess, Jeff Bezos, right? And then everyone would be happy. But what's to say Jeff Bezos is the end goal? What's not to say that
you have a better life than Jeff Bezos.
Right, exactly, right? So I mean, the only way I see that happening is through capitalism, where you're free to experiment at your own risk. You know what I mean? It's like, you want to send a man to the moon, or you want to shoot rockets like Elon Musk. There's a risk to that. He might go bankrupt soon. Who knows, right?
Yes.
But there's a risk to it. If you want to do something meaningful, there's a risk to it, right? The minimum risk is time, right? It uses up your time.
Well, what about this? Wouldn't more people try and send people to the moon if they didn't have to take any risk at all?
Wouldn't
Like,
more
what if
people
every
try to
smart-
send?
What if every smart person who's poor, what if every poor person is capable of sending a rocket isn't poor people? Well, then they start building their own rocket companies and sending people to the moon?
There'd be faulty rocket companies. You know what I mean? Because they might not have the experience, the knowledge, or the resources.
Right, and Elon Musk's SpaceX was very faulty at the start as well. And maybe he would have been priced down. We would have better rockets, because someone who didn't have money but now does is able to build better rockets than SpaceX.
I feel that argument's kind of like, there's a weak point, but I can't quite find it, or I need to think about it a bit more. I just think that people who have capital and use it to make more capital, there's a reason they got there. You know what I mean?
Right, because if
Versus-
you're poor, you don't want to be poor, so you do stuff to not be poor, and you might not be poor by building rockets. But then again, that's a rich man's game. You gotta be rich to build rockets.
Right, you gotta be rich to build rockets.
It's like what was the phrase? Like poverty is the father of all like innovation or something.
Poverty is the father of, perhaps. Oh, there's mom calling.
Okay.
So I think with that, I guess we'll end our first podcast.
No. You know what we should do?
What should we do?
We should leave like 2 minutes of silence before the end of every podcast and just have extra audio at the end. We could call it audio app, like lagging up footage, like a little extra on the side. And it'll annoy everyone because then they think the podcast is over and it'll come back with like 2 minutes of extra audio.
All right, for our next podcast, we can do that.
No, for this podcast.
What do we say at the end?
We'll just say this, and then you could put in extra audio after you said extra blank space after you said this is the end. And then it starts off.
Wait, so I said this is the end?
Yes, and then you.
I put nothing in between.
Yes, and then you hear
For
my
2
voice come
minutes?
back saying.
For 2 minutes?
Yes, and then you hear my voice saying no, don't end it, or do whatever you want, and everyone will be like, "What the hell is this?"
Wow.
Yes, make them angry.